Hey, everybody, it's Jono Long with the Pro Church Marketing Podcast. And I apologize. I'm getting over COVID. So if I sound a little nasally, you know why. Today, just want to talk briefly about how church marketing is just never going to replace personal invitations. On social media, we get a lot of hate, mainly from hate's probably a strong word. We get a lot of criticism from Christians, and it's usually there's a tinge of spiritual arrogance. It's always condescending, but just saying that, hey, you just need to preach the word. Marketing has no place in the church. And that's fine, whatever. And you won't find anybody who believes more in marketing than me. But I will also admit that church growth, for the most part, is going to happen through relationships. And ads can get people to show up to church. They get people to sign up for a visit. They can get your church seen and more visible, but it's not going to keep people. These ads are not going to keep people and make them engage in the life of the church. And ads are not going to grow disciples. Now, a lot of churches come to us at Faithworks Marketing, hit us up, and it's usually a lot of times it's out of desperation. And we work with a lot of great churches that are growing, and we are just one tool in their arsenal. All of their eggs are not in our basket, but there's a lot of churches that approach us because they've been struggling for a long time and things just aren't working and they're not sure where to turn. And of course, we can help, but usually, if your church has not been growing for a long time, there's another problem. There's something deeper. And I tell people all the time, we can help churches that are at a 4 or a 5 get to 10, but we can't help you get from 0 to 1 typically, because there's usually something deeper going on that we can't fix. But back to relationships. I've always said this. When I was a youth pastor, I would tell students all the time, like, look, you could put 2 churches next to each other, 2 youth groups next to each other. And let's say church A has the best band and the best speaker and the best lights, and they do the best events, and they've got tons of money, tons of budget. There's inflatables there every week. There's free whatever, free food, free pizza, free coffee, you name it. But let's say the people just aren't that welcoming and they're not that friendly. And then you've got church B, the band sucks, the teaching, there may not even be a band. The teaching is not all that great. It's boring, but everybody is super nice and friendly and welcoming, and they make people feel like they belong. I would say that church B is going to grow more, and people are going to stick, and people are going to engage, and because the flashiness, it'll attract people, no doubt about it. But people just won't stick there. And if I've got to choose between going to the church with all the stuff and all the money and all the flash, and there's nothing wrong with all of that, but people are going to stick to the church where they have a relationship with. They're going to stick where people are talking to them. And I used to preach this all the time to my students in the youth group. Like, look, when somebody new walks in, you've got to remember what it feels like to be the new kid. You've got to remember what it feels like to be the new person that doesn't know anybody walking into the room. No one wants to have to stand there and, read the posters waiting on somebody to come talk to them. You've got to make people feel like they belong. You've got to build relationships with people. And because they're not really going to believe in what you have to say until they feel like they belong. And so friendly and accepting and warm and inviting is going to beat out flashiness and budget and production every single time. So why is there this marketing explosion? And I don't know, you may not get it served as many ads on Instagram and Facebook as I do about church marketing agencies, since I am one. But it seems like every week there's a new ad from a new company out there claiming, saying, hey, we'll get you new guests. We'll get you first time guests to your church. And these are all good people. Their intentions are good. And I'm not saying that they won't. My point is that there seems to be some little bit of a marketing explosion in churches, and every church is more and more churches are jumping on to online marketing. And some of this seems to be in response to people not inviting their friends and coworkers and family to church as much anymore. And I think that's something that probably should be dealt with. Why aren't people inviting? Why are we having to turn to marketing when marketing should really just be one tool in a toolbox of lots of tools that attract people to church and that push people to invite their friends and push people to share their faith, more importantly, because again, this is not just about getting people to church. This is about people coming to know Jesus and growing in their faith. So why are people not engaging the culture? Why are people not engaging their friends? Why are people not inviting the church? And therefore, pastors are feeling the pressure. Church leadership is feeling the pressure to go hire someone like us. A few things come to mind, and I'm sure this is not an exhaustive list, and I'm sure there are lots of reasons, and there's probably some studies done on this. If there's not, there probably should be. But here's a few reasons that I think of. One is one that we're not always wanting to admit, but I think this is super true. I think people are embarrassed. I think a lot of our churches just do some things that are just kind of awkward and uncomfortable, making first time guests stand up. We visited a church not too long ago that, first time guests were pointed out, and people just don't want that attention. And so it's like, it's our church. We're willing to deal with it. It's not awkward to us anymore, but we're not bringing anybody into this. It's kind of like those meals that, you'll fix for your family. It's kind of a meal that, it's whatever. But if you're inviting company over, this is something you would never fix this meal for company. Kind of the same way with some of the things that our churches do. Like, all right, it's fine if it's just us, but man, if I bring a friend in here, if I invite my neighbor and we pull this kind of stuff in front of them, that's going to be super uncomfortable. It's going to be embarrassing, and it shines a light on just how weird some of the things that we do in church are. So maybe people are embarrassed, and maybe we just need to promise our people that we're not going to do anything to embarrass them. Another reason is that I think we've unintentionally taught that our programs will do the work. We've just implied that, if we make the music better, if we make the preaching better, we make better videos, we make the youth ministry better, the children's ministry better, then it's kind of a build it and they will come type thing. We just make everything better and more excellent, then people will just show up. It'll be attractive. And some of that's true. I think that does attract some people, but again, they won't stick because of that. It doesn't matter how good your children's ministry is if no one feels welcome. It doesn't matter how good your band is if no one feels welcome. And on the flip side of that, your parents, especially parents, will put up with a lot. Parents will put up with mediocre teaching, decent, subpar worship service if their kids love it, and if their kids feel welcome, and if their kids have friends at that church. So we just can't rely on the programs to do the work. We've got to be inviting. We've got to be warm. We've got to be welcoming. And then I think the other thing is a reason that maybe we're not inviting, or our people aren't inviting, is that we're just comfortable. We're not pushing our people to invite. We haven't taught them to. And there's different reasons for this. I think primarily one is that we just get comfortable as church leaders. We've reached critical mass. The staff is paid. The budget is met. There's just no urgency because we're comfortable. It's a lot of work to get new people. And I don't think we've just become like we don't care about people. It's just easy. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of people already. There's a lot of stuff to deal with. And same thing happens with businesses. Your bills are paid, the team is paid, you're not incurring debt and all that stuff. And it's just, hey, we're cool. Everything, this is fine. I don't want any more stress. I'm stressed enough as it is. So if we try to grow and take it to the next level, there's just gonna be a lot more stress. And this is just not who we want to be. I'm sure there are other reasons. It could be fear. It could be laziness. It could be, just that our faith is not really showing up in our lives. And so it's awkward to invite people when they might say, what, you go to church? Like they're surprised. So, ultimately, it's a discipleship issue, I think. And if people are excited about their faith, excited about their church, they're growing, then they're probably going to talk about it. So if they're not talking about it, then there's a good chance that they're not growing and they're not excited about their faith, and things just aren't really right. There's something deeper going on. And so maybe that's what we need to deal with. Again, marketing is just a tool that pours gas on a fire that already exists among our people. And so marketing comes alongside some excitement that's already there, some momentum that's already there, and just is just it's like lighter fluid and it's an accelerant, but it can't be the only thing. And, we live in a world of screens, and marketing puts our churches in front of people who are staring at screens, but it does not replace relationships and personal invites. And I just don't think it ever will. Again, it's a tool in a toolbox. Need to use it. Definitely need to be running ads. Definitely need to be engaged on social media. We need to have good looking websites. But that can't be the only thing that we're doing. We've got to be teaching our people to love people, to be welcoming, to be watching out for visitors when they show up on Sunday morning, so that they've got somebody to sit with. And because there's nothing worse than walking into a room where you don't know anybody and feeling like everybody else knows everybody else.